Am I the jerk for sharing the private text my conservative neighbor sent me with the neighborhood group chat? I'm 32, male, and I moved into this neighborhood about 2 months ago. The neighborhood is kind of busy with lots of activities and events taking place. I have a next door neighbor named Steve. From what I've noticed, Steve has an important place among the neighbors. He's conservative and somewhat influential, if this is the right word. So anyways, Steve keeps inviting me to participate in events, but I tell him I'm always busy. I work long shifts as a nurse, and he seems to get personally offended whenever I decline. He was nice about it the first time. Then he started spreading rumors about me being agnostic, introverted, and antisocial. I ignored him, then he started complaining about everything I do or don't do. Like my front door camera, the lights in my driveway, the garage, the dog. The list is endless. I had a stern conversation with him in front of the other neighbors last week, telling him to leave me alone and stop complaining to the other neighbors about me for no reason. He said something about how he was just making sure to include me in the events, and also trying to get me to avoid any violations about lights and pets. I told him thank you, but I need to be left alone. Apparently, I ticked him off, because he sent me a private text basically berating me for calling him out on harassment in front of the neighbors. He then cussed me out. Here's what he said, copy and paste. One's like you in the neighborhood anyway. You are an inconsiderate slob and an effing jerk. Just go away. You won't be missed and no one cares about you or your pathetic dog. I was shocked that this type of word choice came from a religious dude like him. I took his screenshot and shared it with the neighborhood group chat. There was silence on their end, but Steve came over this morning lashing out about how I'm basically trying to ruin his reputation in the neighborhood and turn the neighbors against him by sharing a private text that only I was meant to see. He yelled about how he can't even show his face at church. I argued with him, then told him to F off and shut the door closed. I went to work, and that was the last time we spoke. I did get a couple of calls from some of the neighbors about it, which makes me think maybe I shouldn't have shared that text. Am I the jerk? No, you're not the jerk here. This guy had no right to speak to you in that way, nor did he have any right to spread misinformation and rumors about you, for simply not having time to attend his and the neighborhood's social events. People have lives and jobs, and you didn't deserve that harassment. I hope he's left you alone and you've been able to move on. Am I the jerk for still going to my dental appointment after my husband tried to get me to reschedule? So, I'm 34, female, and was having a horrible toothache. I'd taken medication to ease the pain, but it was bad. Like, you need to go to the dentist now level bad. I scheduled an appointment and was told to come yesterday. My husband's, male, 37, best friend, Terry, male, 33, got into an accident and injured his knee. My husband looks after him and sees him living alone and in need of assistance. I welcomed him into our home, but found myself having to clean up after him and bring him his medications and also cook for him. And if I take a long time to get something done, he'd call my husband and basically tell on me, which makes my husband mad. He says it's temporary, and also since I'm home 24/7 and he's working, then I should help care for his friend. It's become quite overwhelming because now I can't leave the house if my husband isn't there with his friend. Like I stated previously about the dental appointment, I told my husband the night before and he pitched a hissy fit, saying I can't leave Terry home alone. I suggested maybe he take some time off of work and stay with him, but he said it wouldn't work with such short notice. He suggested that I reschedule, but I said no. Even showed him how bad the swelling was, yet he told me to hold on for another day. The next day, he went to work early, and I decided I was still going to go. Terry was in the living room. He sleeps on a large mattress in the living room, and saw me making my way out as Mom was waiting at the door. He asked where I was going, and I told him about the dental appointment. He had an attitude and raised his voice at me, telling me to go back upstairs and cancel. Mom stepped in and started arguing with him, asking who he thought he was. He went on about how he was unable to move, and then threatened to call my husband if I stepped foot out that door. I took my mom, and I left. He ended up calling my husband, who then tried to call me over and over for about 2 hours, till I turned my phone off. Instead of returning home, I went and stayed with my mom because I was in a tremendous amount of pain, and my husband started yelling at me, calling me stubborn for still going after he told me to reschedule, and irresponsible for leaving his injured friend home alone. Mom told him off, which escalated the argument between us. He is now currently staying at home along with his friend, while constantly pressuring me to stop hiding behind my mom and deal with the results of having him leave his job for hours after I blindsided him and went against his wishes. Your husband is the jerk in this situation. He was the one who offered to take care of his friend. He shouldn't have relied on you and shirked his responsibilities, no matter his work schedule or otherwise. And his friend is a giant jerk for thinking he's entitled to someone else caring for him 24/7. Am I the jerk for failing a student, giving them a reality check, and then ruining their college plans? I'm a high school chemistry teacher in a district where chemistry is required to graduate. I recognize that many students aren't scientifically or mathematically inclined, and having an ADHD child was confirmed firsthand that even trying your best may not guarantee success in certain subjects. For this reason, I make my class as stress-free for my students as possible. Grades are determined mainly by homework and participation. Only a small percentage is exam-based. I also offer a weekly extra credit assignment that I introduce on Monday and have due by Friday. It's the same every time. Watch a 5-minute long video about our current topic, then write a 3-2-1 about it. 3 things they learned, 2 things they found surprising or interesting, and 1 question they still had about the video. I even accept silly answers like, where did that guy get the mole plushie from? Even if you perform poorly on the exams. Turning in your homework and completing at least half of the extra credit assignments will guarantee you at least a B. The majority of my students have A's, are motivated during class, and their standardized testing scores indicate a strong understanding of chemistry. Then there's my student, Levi. I don't think Levi is a bad kid in any way, but he is very disrespectful and never turns his homework in or extra credit. I have sent Levi to the counselor to discuss if there's a reason he can't do his homework and if we could help. Nothing came of it. I held multiple parent meetings to discuss Levi's lack of effort and that he would not graduate 11th grade unless he changed. His mother would insist that I give Levi another chance, and she would stay on top of him. There was never any improvement, though. The last day of school is on Friday. Levi has a 34.6 in my class. He approached me last week after school and asked how he could raise his grade. I encouraged him to study for the final exam, but the exam is only 3% of his final grade and wouldn't be enough. Because he failed both semesters, he doesn't have the option to make up a semester in summer school, and will have to repeat the 11th grade. Levi bugged me because he and his friends were planning to attend the same college, and if he were to be held back, he'd be left behind. I told him, Levi, your conduct and lack of effort will not work in college or the real adult world. You are not ready for the complete adulthood that comes with college. Your grade is the one you earned, and that's final. Levi looked devastated and left. Later, his mother emailed me saying she wished I'd invested more in Levi. I hate having failed a student, but I feel Levi needed a harsh reality check, and he gave me no choice. It would also be unfair to my students who did try. I talked about this with some of the family members, and many told me I could have taught Levi a lesson without ruining his future, and I went too far with my words. Again, I didn't enjoy it, but still believe it was necessary. Am I the jerk? It's tough being a teacher. Wanting the best for your students while at the same time knowing some of these students are not necessarily going to make the cut. You feel like you're failing a young mind when in all reality, in this instance at least, it's Levi. Levi had every option and every opportunity to pass your class. You were far more lenient than any teacher I personally had, and way more lenient than any professor he'd meet in college. I definitely think you did him a bit of a favor, and we're not the jerk in this situation. Hopefully when he grows up a little bit, he'll recognize what you've done for him here. But I wouldn't count on it. Am I the jerk for taking my child to her mom's home and leaving her there? I'm 40, male, and have full custody of my daughter. She's 12. Her mom only has once a month visitation. Recently, she's been acting up and insisting on living with her mom because she thinks I'm a bad dad. I knew she couldn't live with her mom because her mom is a terrible mother. I know it because I've seen the way she treats her other kids, which is why I tried so hard to get full custody. Also, my daughter is used to her very privileged life, which her mom can't give her. A few days ago, we got into an argument, and again, she said she hated me and wanted to live with her mom. I got angry, so I made her pack a bag. Took her to her mom's home, left her there, and told her she's going to live here just as she wanted. One day later, I got a message from her asking me to take her home. I ignored all of her messages and calls for 4 days until I figured she had learned her lesson. I answered her call, and she was crying and asked me to take her home, which I did. She's been staying in her room ever since. My family thinks I'm a huge a-hole and should have brought her home the first time she called, but I thought it was necessary. Am I the jerk? Life lessons, my man. Your daughter needed to see that the grass isn't greener on the other side. Hopefully after this little vacation at her mom's, she's learned that life isn't so bad with her dad and she'll be more pleasant to live with. If not, I suppose you can ship her back off to her mom's anytime. Am I the jerk for telling my brother that if he proposed to my ex-girlfriend, I wouldn't show up to the wedding or speak to him ever again? My older brother is in a serious relationship with a woman who I dated. They have been together for 3 years. Prior to that, she and I had dated for 5. We were high school sweethearts, and I was deeply in love with her. She dumped me seemingly out of nowhere, and about 3 weeks later, they went on their first date. She was in a relationship with my older brother. I have no proof of the overlap, and I have no proof that she was talking to him the same time as we were dating. Honestly, I didn't want to look for the proof, as I didn't want to damage our relationship over a girl. However, I think it's pretty obvious. This feeling has been in my mind for years, and part of me resents them for it. I also feel kind of betrayed that my older brother would shack up with a girl who dumped me while I was still trying to get over her. This week, my brother announced that he was going to propose to her. Everyone in my family was happy for him except me. I couldn't be. He is marrying someone who I saw myself marrying for years because he picked her up while I wasn't looking. I tried to hide it, but I couldn't suppress it anymore. After I got the news, I called my brother and gave it to him straight. I told him that I couldn't be happy for him and that I couldn't let this be part of my life anymore. I told him that if he proposes to her, I won't be at his wedding because I will no longer consider him my brother. He will be a stranger to me. He was upset. He told me that I needed to get over the past and that if she wanted to be with me, she wouldn't have left me for him in the first place. He said I was being immature and making this proposal and his relationship all about me. I felt like I was being pretty generous with this. All of my family is mad at me and is on his side. They all think I'm jealous and just looking to start a fight over this girl. I don't want to cause drama. If he wants to propose, that's his decision, and I'll make mine. Am I the jerk? Maybe not the jerk. Your brother's being a pretty huge one, however. To not only date your girl, but date her less than 3 weeks after you two broke up, there has to have been something going on there. And it's sad. Brothers shouldn't do that to each other. But I will say, he is your brother, and no matter what, that's not going to change. So try and make amends at least a little. Am I the jerk for refusing to rename my daughter? I'm 25 and got pregnant last year and announced it to my family shortly after finding out. My sister, Jane, who is 23, a couple weeks later announced she was pregnant, which was weird because I didn't know she was trying. But I was happy for her nonetheless. When we found out that the gender of our baby would be a girl, we told the family we planned to name our baby Jacqueline. When they asked. When Jane found out her baby was a girl as well, she announced that she'd be naming hers Jacqueline as well. I told her that was the name I had picked for my baby, and she said yes, but she liked it so much she wanted it too. And that I'd either have to rename mine or deal with them both being named Jacqueline. Upon giving birth, I named my baby Jacqueline. I guess my sister thought I'd change my baby's name because she said that was what she was going to name her baby, and I told her we could have 2 Jacquelines or she could rename hers. Her baby was born, and she named her Jacqueline. We referred to mine as Jackie and hers as Lynn. Fast forward a bit, and my Jackie is now 3 months old. Unfortunately, Jane's baby passed away. At the funeral for the child, she demanded that I rename my baby because it hurt too much since they had the same name. She told me she'd do it if it were me. I told her no. It wasn't right to rename a 3-month-old baby, and I was the one who came up with the name first. It's been 2 weeks since the funeral, and my family is giving me heck. Even my husband thinks we should change the baby's name, and said it's a matter of empathy. I'm starting to feel unsure. Am I the jerk for not wanting to rename my baby? I don't think you're the jerk in this situation. Nor, honestly, is your sister. She's in grief, and I'm sure it's not an easy situation for her. But she really doesn't have any say or right to demand that you change your baby's name, regardless of how painful it might be for her. And honestly, your family should stay out of the situation and mind their own business. Am I the jerk for refusing to buy my sister-in-law a house? A few years ago, my husband took on a new job. It was for a small startup business, and he took a massive pay cut to do it because he loved what he was working on. It meant long hours, so I willingly took on the household responsibilities so that he could work to the best of his abilities. Took on all the responsibilities with our kids, and I also brought some money in with a small side job of my own. His hard work has paid off for us. This business has taken off, and it looks to be making a fair bit of money, more than we have ever had, and my husband has gotten a substantial pay increase from it, as well as a share of the company, and his boss paid him a huge bonus. He also got a few other perks, like a company car. We are currently building our dream home, and we were also planning to invest some of the money so we had something set aside for our retirement. My mother-in-law came to us the other day and told us that sister-in-law needs to move. She is currently renting, but the only properties available near her kid's school are for sale, not rent. She said that we could afford to buy a sister-in-law a new house and have sister-in-law pay off the house to us. My husband was on the fence with the idea. He thinks sister-in-law deserves a break and she has health issues and could use the help, but I didn't agree. I said sister-in-law is great and responsible, but I don't like making these kinds of financial deals with my family. They always go sideways, and I'm not 100% on board with the idea. I mentioned before we do anything, I'd like to contact our accountant and our lawyer so we can see any issues that may arise from an arrangement like this. It will also mean that our investment idea won't be able to happen. My mother-in-law freaked out at me and told me that it's husband's money, not mine, and I'm just being a gold digger. I have no rights to any of it, and my husband can spend it in any way he wants. I have no say. She said my husband worked hard for his bonus, not me. Apparently, she always thought I was money hungry, and this money is allowing my true colors to show. Sister-in-law needs help, and he should help family. She told me I'm greedy and a jerk that only cares about money. Once she left, she texted my husband. He needs to consider a divorce because I'll keep a tight leash on money that is rightfully his and won't let him spend it how he sees fit. She also said he needs to get a good family lawyer to take the kids away from me, or I'll use that as leverage to take more of his money. I also feel I need to add that when I met my husband, he had a retail job, which he quit, and I supported him while he finished his education. I supported him when he had a crappy job, when his boss paid him nothing. It's never been about money for me, but now we have it, I just want to be careful. Am I the jerk? Your mother-in-law is the jerk here, and honestly, your husband needs to put his mother in her place slightly. Going off on you and then telling her son that he needs to divorce you and get a family lawyer just for refusing to buy her daughter a house seems a little excessive, don't you think? Am I the jerk for ruining my stepdaughter's proposal? So, my stepdaughter is 18 and about 2 months pregnant at the moment. And she just had her graduation ceremony from high school today. As we were standing in this large crowd, there had to be at least 400 plus people in this crowd. It was basically the graduates finding their families and people taking pictures. Anyways, my stepdaughter's baby daddy comes up behind her and gets down on one knee. My stepdaughter turns around and is in utter shock, and everyone in the crowd is looking at them. Might I add that she and her baby daddy aren't even together at the moment. The entire school knows she's pregnant, by the way. She wanted to keep it secret, but her baby daddy decided he would announce that he was going to be a dad in the middle of their lunch during school one day, and obviously word got around about her being pregnant. So once I noticed that he's down on one knee, I bend down to him and say quietly next to him, "Stand up and walk away now," in the most threatening voice I could use. I was not going to let him embarrass her any more than he already had. To my surprise, he gets up quickly and walks away. Thank God her dad was getting the car and didn't witness that. I pull her and her siblings away and start leading them to the car. She's silent the whole way home and still in shock about what just happened. The rest of the day was fine, but her baby daddy showed up on the front step of my house. Luckily, I caught him before he knocked, as I was just coming home from something. He tells me that I ruined his proposal and embarrassed him. I shot back and told him that he embarrassed himself by proposing in the first place. At that point, my stepdaughter came out, and she doesn't really know what side to be on. I walked inside after realizing that this wasn't my fight to be involved with, so I left my stepdaughter to talk with him alone. Which, now thinking about it, I do feel quirky about leaving her alone with him. I just want to make a few things clear. I love my stepdaughter, and I will always go out of my way to protect her. I do understand that it was wrong of me to get involved in the first place. The reason I'm so against this proposal is because I got married at 18 and divorced at 22. I don't want her making that same mistake. He's also a freaking manipulator. And my stepdaughter isn't mad at me, only her baby daddy is. So am I the jerk? While not the best thing to do, perhaps letting your daughter handle it would have been the better option. I know the mama bear instinct tends to kick in, and you want to protect your children from anything that might hurt them. You did this with nothing but love and concern in your actions, and that's amazing. You're not the jerk in this situation, and I'm so glad to hear that your stepdaughter's not mad at you. It honestly sounds like she's got a good head on her shoulder, and I hope she hasn't accepted this jerk's proposal.